Hi folks, welcome to your MWIS Winter Planner. This updated on Friday the 9th of December. Now, the cold pattern that we've got at the moment does look as though it's here to stay, with many indications showing chillier patterns in the weeks ahead. Mountain terrain then is going to stay extensively frozen and a much more wintry scene this December then compared to many recent years. We'll see some snow at times. We will see some variations on that as the wind changes from day to day. Do be aware then of significant chill factors where you're exposed across the mountains. On the lighter wind days, we may need to contend with some freezing fog. Starting off with those general weather patterns, then, this is the story through the week ahead. That's the 7-day pressure averages, then, as we go through to the 19th of December. And the pink colours indicate that high pressure is in existence to the north of the British Isles, and lower pressure with the greener blue colours exists towards the south. And that continues to usher in those chillier air masses from Scandinavia, with any Atlantic weather systems steering themselves well to the south. So the week ahead prevails with a cold pattern. Heading towards the Christmas period, and the signal is still there that high pressure exists toward the north, and that would maintain a generally chilly theme still across our part of the world. The signal for lower pressure is much weaker away toward the south, and we could still be seeing some fairly slow moving circulating patterns that do exist around the British Isles. Uncertainties at this stage, then, just exactly where the pattern will lie. It might be that there is a bit of back and forth with temperature, and some less cold air occasionally tries to get in, but still, with that extent of high pressure lying to the north, a colder theme would still be expected much more of the time. The signal remains fairly weak between Christmas and New Year, but still the idea that high pressure would exist to the north of us towards Greenland, which is still good in terms of keeping chillier patterns near to us, blocking out the Atlantic jet stream and steering any of those weather systems further toward the south, so keeping us under generally colder air masses. Again, it will just depend at this stage exactly where our source of the air comes from in terms of where the pattern goes. So a little bit of back and forth maybe through that spell around Christmas, but the overall theme would still lean towards the colder weather patterns. Pretty straightforward story in terms of freezing level for the days ahead. Then we will see most terrain frozen. Now, some hard frosts in the valleys and the glens will leave those lowest elevations frozen. It might be that the air temperature just lifts a few degrees above freezing point in some sort of sunnier valleys, and sunlit slopes will partially thaw, particularly areas more towards western coast. But overall, if I just roll this story on into the new week, you'll see how the low freezing level maintains itself across the British Isles, and there's very little change day on day as the weather pattern remains constant through into the middle of the week. Terrain then staying extensively frozen. Beware of ice, beware of snow cover that is then frozen, and some rime ice as well, even where there hasn't been any snow. Here's the projection for where the snow depth is going to exist then as we go forwards, this in 6-hour time steps, giving you the snapshot at any one time. And if we go through into early Saturday, again, it's northern Scotland that has most of it. There's a few showers coming in from the Irish Sea overnight into Saturday, so a fresh dusting of snow over some of the Lakeland Fells and maybe onto the western side of the Pennines, very locally possibly through to early Saturday. As we go onwards through Saturday daytime, the areas of snow across the Highlands are feeding in from the northeast, so some further accumulations settling across the Cairngorms, getting further into the central Highlands by later on in the afternoon and evening. Some of those could well lie to lower elevations around the central belt, so be aware of that one. The story going on into Sunday sees a few showers around locally, for the most part not huge amounts of precipitation, but one or two flurries here and there, and the model even finds one or two snow flurries around the home counties, which could cause some trouble for places there, but that may be fairly small amounts. Onwards into the new week, and there's not a huge amount changing. There's a few showers and flurries around, but mostly it's a fairly dry, if just very cold story for a few days further ahead. It is a slow-moving weather situation, and just to take you briefly through the synoptic charts, on Saturday we have a broad zone of low pressure just off the eastern side of England, and a chilly northeasterly wind across Scotland, and that will be strongest across the northwestern Highlands, very gusty in places, so do bear that one in mind, and a brisk westerly wind across Wales too, which will feel cold, and that driving some of those showers in from the Irish Sea. And that little weak occluded front just bringing the snow to the eastern side of the Highlands, drifting further southwards as we go towards the evening time. The remnants of that could well give some snow flurries for the Borders, the Cheviots, and maybe getting into the North Pennines on Sunday. Just need to watch the detail of what's left of that feature. 1 or 2 snow showers maybe for Wales, but mainly a dry day under pretty light winds. And the risk of a few snow showers just associated with that front just toward the far north of the Highlands. That may well stay mostly offshore. So a good amount of dry weather, some banks of cloud in various places, and some fog as well around under the light winds, particularly across central, northern parts of England, East Wales, maybe even central Scotland if the wind is light. Freezing fog on lower slopes, some of the highest tops then maybe poking through out of that where it does exist, and there'll be a few patches of cloud around as well. Just still watch though for a gusty northeasterly wind which could exist around southern Scotland and parts of northern England. That mostly quiet weather story continues into Monday then, with freezing fog again likely to be one of the main features of the story across central Northern England, East Wales and central Scotland. That could be around at low elevations all day. A few patches of cloud and fog higher up on some of the hills, but many of the mountains likely to be in the clear with light winds, a very low chance of a local snow flurry. Most places are dry, perhaps just a stronger, gustier southeasterly wind in 1 or 2 places. Northwest Scotland may see that, and parts of Wales too could see a rather gusty wind. So if you're in that, again, just bear in mind that significant chill factor. Heading towards the middle of the week, and although there is uncertainty, we do need to watch the strength of that wind because the chart here does indicate a stronger easterly wind across Wales, maybe further up the Pennines as well. Looks as though it's lighter winds for Scotland at this stage. Most places are still dry, but staying very cold, that significant wind chill factor where you're exposed, and maybe again some freezing fog patches where the wind is light. By around Wednesday, we're expecting an area of low pressure to pass just to the south of Britain. Now, the northern extent of this is uncertain, and it's important in terms of the risk of any snow for central southern parts of England and Wales at this stage. More likely, it looks dry on the scenarios now, with still a brisk easterly wind. A northerly wind developing again across Scotland as the airflow turns around, and the risk of a front bringing some further snow showers into northern parts of the Highlands then again by this stage. And that might just be back to that familiar theme of a northerly airflow into the second half of the week across Scotland. Some day-to-day complications in the week ahead, but a generally wintry story, so prepare for that and enjoy it if you are heading out. That's your MWIS Winter Planner. Thanks for watching today. Bye for now.